Welcome to Building Foundations for Education. It's summertime and the summer is hot and the learning is even bigger and brighter. So with me today are some special guests to talk about the wonderful opportunities that are being provided to our students here in Indian River County. Welcome, Dr. Peggy Jones. Great to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome, Carrie Wall. Great to see you. And Amanda, I'm so glad you're here with us as well. And so I feel like we have the dream team, right? The technology dream team with us. And I'd love for each of you just to tell a little bit about yourselves and your roles here in our community.
Okay, I'm Peggy Jones, and I am Executive Director for Secondary Schools here in Indian River County. And along with that comes many responsibilities, working with principals, working with curriculum, working with students. So that's my role at this time.
Wonderful. Welcome.
My name is Carrie Wall. I am an application support specialist for the district. My role concentrates on digital integration in the classrooms with elementary and secondary students, and I also work with digital access of applications.
Great.
My name is Amanda Deaton, and I am also an application support specialist for the district. I am on site at schools. I support 3 schools in the area and work with teachers integrating technology in the classroom and provide that in-class support for those teachers.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your amazing work. And there's been such wonderful things happening this summer that we wanted the community to know and to raise awareness. So, Doc, take us away with the coding program.
Okay, wonderful. I think it was my first week on the job last year in July. Dr. Rendell came in and said, I have a project for you. And this project started in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in Broward County Schools. And basically it was an immersion of coding for the entire summer. Our students are going Monday through Thursday, 8 to 3 for 2 months. And it was from Innovation Florida. The basic premise is to just have our students learn more about coding, the front end, the back end. The programs are using JavaScript, Ruby on Rails, and it's something that we believe is going to be great for our students in the future. My colleague just went to a leadership meeting last week in Sarasota, and the speaker said, a national speaker said, everyone's going to need to learn coding within the next 10 years for all of their jobs. So we have this wonderful opportunity for our students. We did a partnership with the Mueller Center in Casey Lunsford, so the lab is at the Mueller Center, so the kids feel like they're on a college campus, giving up their entire summer for this. I check on them once or twice a week, and they are doing very, very well, and we're looking forward to what will happen next with these students.
That's cool, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then Tech Ventures, I love the name of that, Carrie and Amanda. Tell us what is Tech Ventures?
So we have put laptops in over 400 5th grade to 12th grade classrooms throughout the district. And one of the things we like to do is survey our teachers and our students to see how it's going and what we can do to improve the level of digital integration. And the number one thing that we were receiving as feedback from the teachers was that the students needed a more basic understanding of the digital applications. We have quite a few applications that are available to them. We have Office 365, which includes OneDrive, which is cloud computing, collaboration skills, and then we use Canvas as our learning management system. And the teachers were having to spend class time to teach these basic applications to the students. And they were telling us that they would really like the kids to walk into class prepared. And so that is where the idea for Tech Ventures was born, was to provide students with a summer camp opportunity to really learn the basics, the foundations for digital integration, so that they could walk into the classrooms in August and be strong digital students.
That's fabulous.
And so we offered the program to students in grades 5 through 8, incoming 5th grade to incoming 8th grade. And offered them 4 days of what we called Tech Ventures.
That's awesome. And Amanda, you probably see the importance of this program from your work in the schools.
Yes, I think in educating our students, we are currently educating Generation Z, which is unlike any generation we've had before. Yes, yes.
Z.
And I think that we assume students this age have these necessary skills. How do you make a file? How do you move slides in PowerPoint? How do you post in an online discussion? How are you a good digital citizen? So we think these students have these skills because they are so naturally inclined when it comes to technology, but a lot of these skills do need to be taught to our students to make sure they are being good digital citizens in our schools.
So we know that this is taking place, but how were these students selected for the coding?
We created a packet where they had to submit a resume, get recommendations, an interest in the coding, and they were just selected. Actually, 26 applied and 26 got in, so we were very, very thankful for that. We were going to keep it at 24, but we made sure we had everyone in. So it was a package just like you're going on to a job. You know, what are your skills? What do you want to learn? Parent permission, and again, parents have to get them there, pick them up. But when we met with the parents and all the students sometime in May, they were all very excited about this. This is approved by our school board, and again, Dr. Rendell brought this to me, and they, out of our technology millage budget, $37,000 for this. If you would take this class in Broward County right now, it's $15,000 per person.
Yeah.
So the school board really gave us their support.
Yes.
And these students will leave with certificates. And again, some internships will come about because of that.
That's awesome. And so I know when I asked if you could do this longer than the 4 days, you both kind of went like, oh. 'Cause you also had a huge response.
We did have a huge response. Being the first year, we weren't sure what the response was going to be. We provided the Tech Ventures for 4 days, provided for free by the school district. We wanted to make sure that all parents and students had equal access to the information, so we actually did it, provided the information through a ConnectEd call. So everyone who had a student that was an incoming 5th grader to incoming 8th grader received the phone call, and were asked to call our department and submit an application. And we had a great response. We were limited to accepting the first 125 students, but that wasn't a problem. We would definitely like to expand the program if we can next year, especially seeing how much response that we had. But it was really well received.
That's great. And Amanda, what was your impression on the enrollment? Do you think you could double the number if we had the funding?
Well, I believe we filled all spots within the first 6 hours that the phone line was open, and we all sat by the phone and took calls pretty much all morning. And I think that the students, they loved the camp. We got even greater feedback from the parents saying, oh, you know, my daughter, my son loved this camp. And what they learned. So I definitely think we are a team of 6, and so that was why we limited to 125 spots.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk a minute about why this is important. I think sometimes we think about, okay, coding and technology, it means kids get, leave school with high-paying jobs, which is great, that's what we want. But I think there's a lot of other great benefits out of this type of learning experience, isn't there?
I want to go back to the person who opened this program, Thomas Bouchard, and he started it in Broward County. He started in Austin with Michael Dell, and that's when California, Silicon Valley, then it kind of moved to Austin. And then he came to Florida because his parents were here. And why they started is because they thought our high schools and colleges were not giving them the information they needed. In fact, Casey Lunsford at the Mueller Center was very interested in having these students on campus, because as they go into freshman year in college at IRSC, the kids know what they're going to be taught. So we've got to take it to the next level. And by doing this, he said he was a little bit selfish here. He wants these kids out there. He wants to be able to have businesses hire these students, or he would have a connection with them. And again, they're already looking at 15 strong students that could get into internships. Whether they do this full time or when they go to college part-time, they will get a really good paying job. And like I said earlier, it's the future of what they need to know.
It is. So I'm sure you both, being technology gurus, see the importance and the relevance of this to real-world applications.
So we like to refer to the students in today's classroom as digital natives. This is what they've known all their life. But they're digital natives of touch technology. They're not necessarily they don't necessarily have digital literacy skills, and that's where you can apply their digital knowledge to business and educational applications. And that's really where Amanda was referencing, some of these skills need to be taught. They need to know, what we take for granted, naming conventions of files and, digital organization and, how to leverage some of these skills, in their educational situations. And so we really wanted to give them the basics to that to be able to build on that knowledge. The Tech Ventures we split into a morning and an afternoon session. So in the morning they received the digital application training, and then in the afternoon we had some different opportunities that we gave them. They had access to robotics. We used Lego Mindstorm robotics. Amanda taught the coding, which was done through Khan Academy. We did digital design, where they learned all about digital design features, which is really important in this day and age, about color choice and font style and white space and, you know, all that stuff that can really, you know, not just up the game on their classroom presentations, but, you know, going, you know, forward into the business world, and then media production. And those kids really enjoyed it. They ended up using the green screen. They did a newscast, you know, and with the flood of YouTube, you know, that's really a marketable skill.
Oh, yeah. So, Amanda, I'm sure, you know, I had somebody this morning who texted me a picture of a one-room schoolhouse. And it's amazing to think that that still exists within our country. So every now and again, I'll have some well-intended philanthropist who says, why can't we go back to the old days? So can you shed some light on this Z generation and what this type of opportunity means to that group?
Sure. I know one thing about technology and how it can enhance the students' learning opportunities in the classroom is that it can provide immediate feedback. So if a student takes an assessment, they know right away whether they got the question right or wrong and what they need to do to improve going forward. And I know that is one characteristic of this Generation Z. And one thing that I found in this camp, I taught the coding track like Carrie said, is you can provide the information to the students and they will take it to the next level.
Right.
I worked with one student and taught them how basically that we were creating coding pictures, and we taught them this skill, and he took it and completely to the next level. And I asked him, how did you do this? Just the fact that they took what we taught them and ran with it. And it gives every student a voice, even the quietest student in class. They all have equal opportunity to learn and to participate.
We funded a grant at Beachland Elementary School, which was coding and literacy. And that's exactly what Dr. Lord said. It was really fascinating to see some of the most withdrawn children, maybe kids who weren't even seen as being the smartest, just soar. And so I'm sure, Doc, you see the shift. You know, in 2012, I think it was, we partnered with the district to provide the infrastructure to move to the one-to-one initiative before the millage. And we talked about the digital natives and the digital immigrants, you know, and the kids being the natives and us as adults being, and I think that initially there was that resistance of teachers, but I think the teachers who have embraced it have seen the children lead the learning.
Right. And I'm not Generation Z, I'm way before that, but I wanted to bring up a point because we have two teachers also auditing the class. One's from Sebastian River High School, Master Chief Dews. I'm sorry, that's Mr. Wallace from Sebastian, and Vero Beach,
awesome.
Master Chief Dews.
Oh.
So they are there learning. Now, our goal is to then get it into our semester classes. Now, the one issue, again, it's immersion, but I think a lot of seniors who have some open time where you could do it on a daily basis because they have enough credits, we could look at it that way. But I also talked to Master Chief this morning, and he's in it a little bit about what the ladies are saying here. It's about learning something. It's difficult. Now, some of the students in there had some higher skills on it, but those starting at ground zero, it's a real process for them in learning all of this with the coding, but they're sticking to it. You know, they are just sticking to it, even though it's challenging. So it's pushing their minds quite a bit.
Well, and I think that that's a really great point and a great segue to our conversation, because it isn't just about, I mean, it's important that students have these skills. It's important that they have this potential to walk out in their workplace, but it's a way of critical thinking.
Right.
And we need children to be problem solvers and to applied learning. And already we're seeing robots taking entry-level jobs that will not be there, and we don't even totally know what those jobs will be. So this is just even a critical thinking mindset. Would you agree,
Yes.
Carrie, that it's a shift?
It's definitely a shift. Speaking of the digital integration, I was part of the Ed Foundation's BYOD grant quite a few years ago when I was in the classroom with the iPad in the
You
classroom.
were our featured teacher.
Yes. You know, and one of the things that was special about that was the voice that it gave students that wouldn't normally have a
Yes.
voice in a traditional classroom. And I just see that happening more and more in these digital classrooms. These students who can participate, who can have a voice, who can interact with their peers that they can't necessarily do on a physical level or a verbal level. Our ELL students, our ESE students, our students with severe disabilities. And you know, that's near and dear to my heart. And so I just love to see that this levels the playing field. It provides that equitable access to students.
Right.
And I think it's very strong for strong students and students who need a different learning environment to be able to come together, you know, and experience the same, you know, level of access in the classroom, whether it's the digital application or it's the tool, you know, or it's a program they're doing like robotics and the coding.
Well, and I think Amanda brought up a great point, you know, that a lot of it has been touched, like kids have had phones, but maybe not necessarily their skills, so that's really exciting. But I was saying before the show, also I think it's great because it's a support to parents that they've had this experience, because the way we save things in our laptops to, you know, my son will say, I'll say, did you save it? And then I'm going on there and it's this frightening moment after, you know, helping him for 3 hours, like, where did it go? You know, so I think that that's another great strength that the kids are then teaching the parents. There's that intergenerational learning.
Oh, yes.
And what we're even finding in the classroom is that teachers are learning from students as
Yes.
well. You know, teachers have the foundation to be able to teach them the digital citizenship, the organization, the folder, the how to use the application.
Right.
And then what students are then finding and sharing with the teachers, it's almost this entire learning environment
Right.
between both the teacher and the students. And also students are learning how to become independent learners and critical thinkers. When I was a student in school, I took quite a few online classes, and it really was a learning process for me to become an independent learner.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that is an exciting opportunity for our students as well in being in blended classrooms in the district, that then they will have the foundation going into you know, blended classrooms at the post-secondary level.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we're very blessed to have lots of learning school choice here in Indian County. But I think this technology piece is huge and a wonderful value to public education. And public education has been under horrific attacks. I said I wouldn't get into politics, so I'm not getting into politics. But I feel like this is the good news in education. This is the good news of what our school district is providing to our students. Would you agree to advance
I
it?
would, and I'm thinking of what Carrie and Amanda are saying. I would go down to IT every week just to learn something new, because I had been away from the district for about 8 years. But it truly is, and it truly should be, curriculum and technology. It must blend. You know,
Yes.
when we send our students off to college, they've got to have every tool possible to make sure that they're going to be okay as students there. And if we've always got to keep that in mind, because it is truly a blending of curriculum and technology.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because so often we have our competitive grant cycle, which will be opening up. We call it the
Yeah.
letters of ideas that
Like
schools can write. And I think what I always try and stress to principals and to teachers is that the winning proposals are the ones that have a plan.
Right.
And then the technology supports that plan. Can either one, you, Carrie or Amanda, speak to how critical that is of that blending process?
Do you want to?
Sure. So I think what we always say on our team is that technology is supporting. You know, like you said earlier, going back to the one-room schoolhouse, students can continue learning. It's the technology is there to support, to enhance,
Right.
and to break down the walls of classrooms. And like you said, there has to be a plan in how it's integrated in order to have that successful learning environment. And what we're finding is that when there is the plan, when there is the almost backwards design process, this is the end goal, and I'm going to
Yeah.
use technology to get there. It's there to support.
Right.
So.
And we've seen such great success at Glendale with the Google virtual goggles. I was going to say
yeah,
goggle
Google Expedition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Google
cool.
Expedition, because it is supporting that learning. The teachers have designed the lesson, and then how amazing it is to put those goggles on and be in a rainforest, you know, and to be
That's
able
neat.
to identify Because field trips, it's not like, I shouldn't say the old days, but we don't want to date ourselves. but technology takes us places without having to leave the classroom.
Right. And what Carrie and Amanda were just saying, with our new science adoption this year, I mean, the blending with the Discovery Ed and making sure everything, everything's online. You're buying textbooks, but it's also online. And their department helps us so much on making sure that works. And then with the new progress monitoring for reading in the high school, our reading teachers will have some of their, in each room we'll have at least 7 of the computers so they can do small group instruction and differentiated instruction.
Right.
And we had iReady in the middle schools, now we're bringing it to the high schools because it's such a crucial tool to know where your kids are and where they need to go.
Oh, absolutely. We funded a grant at Sebastian River Middle School with the Myon platform, and within 11 weeks, I think I have this number right, they read something like 9,000 books, just this incredible number within their school population. But not that we don't have a great, library or media center, but it's really, again, these children are reading things differently than we have, right?
Talking about Generation Z and digital natives, they do everything differently than we did. These are students sitting in classrooms that have had a completely different exposure than the teachers teaching them. And we hear about motivation and engagement over and over. How do we motivate these students? How do we engage these students? And a great teacher can always motivate and engage students, but I think technology really provides that key, that piece that sometimes people struggle with. And for kids, technology is that great motivator. It is, that great engaging piece. And it really allows the teachers to take that classroom so much farther. Amanda said, breaking down the walls of that classroom.
Right.
The exposure they have, the access they have to really enhance those lessons and, just expose the students to so much more.
And I think sometimes folks make have a worry, some concern that no one's ever going to talk to anybody again. And so, what do you see from the camp? I almost think that it produces more lively and robust conversations between students and teachers.
Yes.
Do you agree?
And I think when I was in school, I'd say probably 95% of the time, all of the desks were in rows. Students were facing the front and receiving that direct instruction.
Yeah.
And when we were at Tech Ventures, we all had our desks into groups, and we would, do our hook or present the content, and then the students would start working. And yes, they had technology in front of them, but they were communicating with each other, or they would sit next to each other and have their computers next to each other, and they would still talk while working with the technology. And so having that engagement, that collaboration, you can use technology to foster that collaboration, both when you're face-to-face and also when you're apart. This past year, I know there was a couple classrooms that utilized Skype in the classroom. And so I know there was a high school class that Skyped with 2 classes in North County Elementary School. And it was like they integrated the curriculum, and the final goal was to read the story to the elementary school students in North County. So I think that's an example of how you can have conversations, but still break down the walls of the classroom.
One of the things we talk about is the days of sit and get are over.
Yeah, they are.
They really are. And, our motto is the students learn by doing. And that's when we're going into classrooms and we're helping the teachers integrate the technology. It's about learning by doing. And that was how we modeled the camp. The students did all of the digital applications, learning by doing. They created a digital portfolio. They collaborated. They, peer-to-peer grouping. But another one of those great aspects of technology, I'm a little biased, but your strong digital students are not necessarily your strongest academic students. And it really, again, goes back to giving those students a voice, allowing those students to, work with their peers, show them how to do something, be the group leader, so to say, where they might not necessarily have that opportunity on the academic side.
Right.
It's a great equalizer.
Because we funded another grant at Storm Grove Middle School, which was a comparative study of flexible seating.
Right.
And the teachers shared that they were surprised. One of their concerns was maybe they would lose control of their classroom, but they said they had higher engagement and the noise level was reduced. And even talking to Mr. Lee, who's here at Vero Beach High School, with our Algebra Counts 2 program, which we just had that 14% jump in EOCs, you know, and one of the things that many of those teachers shared was it was taking students out of that, you know, line, I call it cemetery seating, if that may not be what an educator would say, but putting people into those collaborative groups, and it was enabling that opportunity for some of those children to really shine from the higher level students. So,
And there's a lot of research on what Carrie just said. I mean, retention when someone is lectured to, not much, but when you get into the kinesthetic hands-on
Yes.
and then teaching one another, that's where they will remember. They will remember what is being taught.
and it's cute because I was in a professional development piece on, you know, donor development, and we were sitting there and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to be in a collaborative.
Hands-on,
I was
moving
thinking
around.
about what we were talking about, like, okay, I need this so I can absorb this. So, the methods and the technology, it's changing, advancing, but all for the good. So as we wrap up, what do you see ahead, Dr. Jones, with, you know, coding and technology and where we're going in our district?
I'm thinking the teacher who is teaching the students is 27. He just came back from South America, and he really travels around the world to teach. I'm just thinking we are right now in Indian River County doing a great job with our kids as far as preparing them for the future.
Yes.
And we just have to keep on this pace and keep moving forward and making sure that they are ready, whatever their next journey in life will be.
Right, absolutely. And Carrie, what's your take? What's your forecast?
We were extremely excited by the turnout at Tech Ventures and the student and the parent feedback. We surveyed them, so we definitely have a lot of things to look at, but it's definitely something we would like to make sure that we offer again next year.
That's wonderful. And Amanda?
Yes, I'm just excited to see how what we led the students in learning and how they take it to the classroom and apply it to what they're learning in school. You know, being in the schools and being in the classrooms, I'm excited to see how the students integrate into the classroom, and then also, like Carrie said, how can we continue to enhance the camp going forward into next year.
I would imagine those children will be the leaders.
I think
that would be
they
my
wanna
goal.
come back.
It will certainly be exciting to see in August.
They're going to come back.
Even with our Step Into Kindergarten program, we fund, you know, it's going on right now with 221 4 and 5-year-olds. The feedback from the teachers is, you know, it's that social emotional, but the leadership skills, to talk about 4 and 5-year-olds
know.
as leaders, but
It's
those
true.
skills,
It's
and the
true.
teachers say they come in feeling very confident because they know, you know, how things work and what the roles and responsibilities are. So it's exciting. So thank you for your amazing work, and we'll have to have you back on to hear the follow-up of all of this. So
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for being
you.
with us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being with us. We hope you tune in again soon.